June 793 AD, on the small island of Lindisfarne, also known as the Holy Island, off the coast of the Kingdom of Northumbria, in what is now northeastern England. The monks began their day as they always had. They prayed, worked, and lived in peaceful isolation, unaware that history was about to change forever. Far out on the cold waters of the North Sea, a fleet of long, narrow ships cut silently through the waves, their dragon-headed prows sliced across the sea with astonishing speed, carrying warriors unlike anything the people of Britain had ever seen. As the ships reached the shore, fierce bearded men armed with axes, swords, and round shields leaped onto the beach. Without warning, they stormed the monastery. The monks stood little chance. Many were killed where they stood, others fled in terror, while the invaders stripped the monastery of its gold, silver, jeweled relics, and every object of value they could carry. Then, almost as suddenly as they had appeared, they returned to their ships and disappeared into the mist of the North Sea. These raiders would soon become known across Europe by a single name: the Vikings. Feared as ruthless warriors from the frozen lands of Scandinavia, they became infamous for swift hit-and-run, raids that struck without warning and vanished before any army could respond. The attack on Lindisfarne shocked the Christian world and is often regarded by historians as the symbolic beginning of the Viking Age. But who were these mysterious seafarers? What drove them to leave their rugged northern homeland and risk the unforgiving waters of the North Sea? How did a society of farmers, traders, and explorers become the most feared raiders in medieval Europe? And after dominating history for more than 3 centuries, why did the Viking Age finally come to an end? This is the complete story of the Vikings.
The Vikings were seafaring people from Scandinavia, the lands we now know as Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. Living between the 8th and 11th centuries, they were far more than fearless raiders. They were skilled shipbuilders, explorers, traders, and farmers, whose voyages reshaped the history of Europe. Their mastery of the sea allowed them to sail farther than almost anyone of their time, leaving a legacy that still fascinates the world today. So, how did a people from such humble origins become the terror of Europe in just 1 generation? How did ordinary men, farmers, traders, and fishermen transform into fearless seafarers whose arrival struck fear into entire kingdoms? To understand their rise, we must return to the beginning, long before the world knew them as the Vikings. The rise of the Vikings did not happen overnight. According to historian Jacques Le Goff, the birth of medieval Europe was marked by the collapse of old empires and the emergence of new kingdoms. As the Roman world faded, Europe entered an age of fragmented power, shifting frontiers, and growing regional identities. It was within this changing world that Scandinavia began to emerge from the shadows of history. While much of Europe was rebuilding, the people of the North were developing along a very different path. Separated by mountains, forests, and the cold northern seas, the Scandinavians learned to survive in one of Europe's harshest environments. Survival demanded resilience, cooperation, and above all, mastery of the sea. Henry Bradley's study of the Goths reminds us that the peoples of Northern Europe shared a long Germanic heritage, a tradition that valued courage, loyalty, military leadership, and the pursuit of honor. Although the Vikings were not Goths, they inherited many of the cultural ideals that had shaped Germanic societies for centuries. Combined with remarkable advances in shipbuilding, these traditions produced a generation unlike any before it. Their long ships carried them across stormy seas, along narrow rivers, and into the heart of kingdoms that had never expected an attack from the ocean. By the year 799 AD, Danish Vikings had begun launching raids along the coast of Frisia, a prosperous region stretching across the shores of northwestern Europe. These attacks marked a new phase of Viking expansion. No longer confined to isolated raids, they were now striking wealthy coastal settlements with increasing confidence, demonstrating that their ambitions reached far beyond the shores of Scandinavia. By the middle of the 9th century, the Viking Age was entering a new chapter. For decades, Scandinavian warriors had crossed the seas to raid monasteries, plunder coastal towns, and vanish before kingdoms could respond. But in 865 AD, everything changed. This time they did not come to raid, they came to conquer. That year, a massive Viking force landed on the shores of eastern England, known to history as the Great Heathen Army. It was unlike anything the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms had ever faced. Instead of a few long ships carrying dozens of raiders, this army arrived in wave after wave, bringing experienced warriors, powerful chieftains, skilled craftsmen, women, children, and the supplies needed to remain on English soil for years. According to later Norse tradition, many of its leaders were believed to be the sons of the legendary Viking hero, Ragnar Lothbrok. Among them were Ivar the Boneless, Halfdan Ragnarsson, and Ubba Ragnarsson. Whether driven by revenge, ambition, or the promise of new lands, their arrival would forever change the destiny of England. The first kingdom to fall was East Anglia. Unable to resist such a powerful invasion, its rulers chose to buy peace by providing horses and supplies to the Viking army. With fresh mounts and renewed momentum, the Vikings marched north. Their next target was the prosperous city of York, the capital of the Kingdom of Northumbria. In 866 AD, the city fell. For the Vikings, York became far more than a conquered city. It became one of the greatest trading centers in northern Europe, known to the Norse as Jorvik. From there, they pushed deeper into England. One kingdom after another collapsed beneath the weight of the invasion. Northumbria fell, East Anglia fell, Mercia was forced into submission. By the early 870s, only one independent Anglo-Saxon kingdom still stood against the Viking advance: Wessex. Its king was a young ruler named Alfred. Unlike many before him, Alfred understood that courage alone could not defeat the Vikings. They were faster, they were more experienced, and they had mastered a style of warfare unlike anything England had ever seen. Again and again, Viking armies struck without warning, forcing Alfred to retreat. At one point, he was driven into the marshes of Athelney, where it seemed the last hope of Anglo-Saxon England had nearly vanished. But Alfred refused to surrender. Hidden among the wetlands, he gathered loyal followers, rebuilt his army, and carefully prepared for one final confrontation. In 878 AD, the two forces met at the Battle of Edington. This time, the Vikings were defeated. Their leader, Guthrum, agreed to make peace. He accepted baptism as a Christian and signed a treaty with Alfred, establishing a frontier between Viking-controlled lands and the Kingdom of Wessex. The Viking territories became known as the Danelaw. For the first time, much of England was governed under Scandinavian customs and laws. Although Alfred had stopped the Great Heathen Army from conquering all of England, the Viking Age was far from over. Across Scandinavia, powerful rulers began to replace rival chieftains, transforming scattered tribes into organized kingdoms. In Norway, Harald Fairhair is traditionally remembered as the king who united much of the country under a single crown. Many who refused his rule sailed west, settling new lands such as Iceland and helping spread Norse culture across the North Atlantic. Meanwhile, Danish ambition turned once again toward England. After decades of warfare, King Sweyn Forkbeard launched a full-scale invasion. In 1013, he became the first Viking king to rule England, proving that the people once feared as raiders could also become rulers. His son, Cnut the Great, expanded that achievement even further. By uniting England, Denmark, and Norway under one crown, he created a powerful North Sea empire, where trade flourished and Viking influence reached its greatest height. In little more than 2 centuries, the Vikings had transformed themselves from coastal raiders into the rulers of one of medieval Europe's most powerful realms. But while kings fought for crowns in Europe, other Vikings were preparing for a journey that would take them farther than anyone had ever imagined. Long before the great voyages of the Age of Exploration, Viking sailors were already pushing beyond the limits of the known world. Driven by curiosity, opportunity, and the search for new land, they settled Iceland and later Greenland under the leadership of Eric the Red. Around the year 1000, Eric's son, Leif Erikson, sailed even farther west and reached a land rich with forests and wild grapes, a place the Norse called Vinland. Centuries before Christopher Columbus crossed the Atlantic, the Vikings had already set foot in North America. Although their settlements did not last, their voyages proved that the Atlantic Ocean was not an impassable barrier, but a gateway to worlds beyond the horizon. Yet while some Vikings searched for new frontiers, others were witnessing the end of an age. Across Scandinavia and Europe, powerful changes were already reshaping the Viking world forever. No empire lasts forever. By the middle of the 11th century, the Viking world was changing. Across Scandinavia, Christianity gradually replaced the Old Norse gods. Powerful kingdoms emerged, trade became more important than raiding, and the age of independent Viking warlords slowly came to an end. Then, in 1066, one final invasion would mark the closing chapter of the Viking Age. King Harald Hardrada of Norway sailed to England with a massive fleet, hoping to claim the English throne. At the Battle of Stamford Bridge, his army was defeated by King Harold Godwinson. Harald Hardrada was killed on the battlefield. Many historians consider this battle to be the end of the Viking Age. For nearly 3 centuries, Viking longships had carried fear across the seas of Europe. Now, their era had come to an end. The legacy of the Vikings. But the Vikings did not disappear. They simply changed the world in different ways. Across England, thousands of towns still bear Old Norse names. Endings like by, Thorpe, and Thwaite remain part of the map to this very day. Their language became woven into English itself. Words such as sky, window, law, egg, take, give, and even they, them, and their all trace their roots to Old Norse. Their traditions of exploration, trade, and seafaring helped connect distant worlds. Their stories inspired countless legends, books, films, and discoveries that continue to capture our imagination. The Vikings were never simply raiders. They were explorers, traders, settlers, kings, and pioneers who reshaped the history of Europe. Their longships may have vanished beyond the horizon, but their legacy still lives on. In the cities we visit, in the words we speak, and in the spirit of exploration that still drives humanity to seek what lies beyond the unknown. The Viking Age may have ended, but the story of the Vikings will never fade. History fades, but its echoes remain. Subscribe and discover the stories history left behind. Thank you for watching until the very end. All images and footage in this video are visual illustrations created to bring history to life. While we strive for accuracy, some details may contain errors or imperfections. Thank you for your understanding. If you enjoyed the journey, consider subscribing and joining us for more